When Jihoon was a child, 2 years after his mother's death, his father brought home a new wife who was strikingly beautiful, and had a daughter 1 year older than Jihoon named Juyeon. This marked a new beginning for his family. Jihoon did not resent his stepmother. In fact, he was grateful to her for bringing smiles back to his father's face. Additionally, her beauty earned Jihoon admiration whenever she came to pick him up from school, and he was proud to have such a beautiful and kind mother. In high school, Jihoon was bullied, but his older sister always protected him. Jian, a school leader renowned for her beauty and athletic prowess, cared for him as if he were her own brother, though sometimes her protectiveness was a bit excessive. During their high school graduation, his mother was as beautiful as ever. While Jihoon and his mother were chatting, his sister rushed over in a panic to inform them that their father had died in an accident. Afterwards, Jihoon had to travel to the East to visit his grandfather, who was deeply shocked by the sad news. At the airport, his stepmother gave him a bracelet that his father had once given her, signifying that they would always be there for him. His sister warned him to answer their calls unless he wanted trouble when he returned. That trip extended to 3 years. 3 years later, when Jihoon returned, his mother mistook the doorbell for a delivery man, but was overwhelmed to see him. He had matured, and with a smile, they embraced tightly as she broke down in tears. After taking a photo with his mother to send to Jian, who was surprised by his early return, his mother invited him for a celebratory drink. Despite his attempts to refuse, he couldn't resist. During the meal, she expressed joy in drinking with him and confessed how much she had missed him. Commenting on how handsome he had grown, she pleaded for one more bottle, even though she appeared intoxicated. While fetching the wine, Jihoon noticed some strange pills, and when he returned, he found his mother had fallen asleep. He carried her to her room. As he prepared to leave, she whispered for Jihoon to stay. Lying beside her, he reflected on how lonely this beautiful woman must have been. Suddenly, she opened her eyes, seemingly forgetting when he had come, and whispered that he was mean and would never understand how much she had missed him. Jihoon hugged her and promised not to let her feel lonely. Just when Jihoon thought things would settle down, she suddenly grabbed his shirt, wanting to get closer. Startled, and as she reached for him, Jihoon, sensing her intoxication, quickly left the room. In her drunken sleep, she murmured to herself, asking where Sunho had gone. Back in his room, Jihoon was restless and couldn't fall asleep. The next morning, his stepmother greeted him with a smile, urging him to wash up and come down for breakfast. Looking at the large spread of food, Jihoon was puzzled about when she had prepared it. She laughed, explaining that she felt refreshed after a good sleep and ended up cooking too much. Jihoon mentioned she should have woken him up, but then paused to ask what was wrong as she stared intently at him. She said it felt like a dream to see him in front of her. Jihoon realized she didn't seem to remember the incident from the night before, and hesitantly questioned her about it. She mentioned that she had dreamt of his father, probably because Jihoon had brought him up, and it had been a long time since she had such a dream. Jihoon told her he had plans to dine out with Jang Seok that evening. That night, meeting Jang Seok at a hotel bar, Jihoon questioned why they were there. Jang Seok grinned, revealing that 2 beautiful women were waiting inside. The short-haired one was Bona, and the other was Soyeon. They drank together, and Jihoon was surprised by Bona's resemblance to his mother, which made him awkwardly look away after their eyes met. As the night wound down, Jihoon decided it was time to go home, but caught Jang Seok cheating with Soyeon, labeling him as despicable. He turned around to see Bona, who seemed unsurprised, then began clinging to him. Jihoon insisted that they shouldn't do this, noting that Bona was drunk and should stop. She questioned why, asking if it was because she was Jang Seok's girlfriend. Hesitating, he replied that regardless, it was wrong, and tried to leave. Bona accused him of lying, pointing out that he had been watching her all night. Blushing, Jihoon admitted she resembled someone he knew. As Bona pressed to know if it was an ex-girlfriend or a first love, she declared she didn't care and continued to cling to him. Jihoon, reminded of his mother by Bona's face, momentarily thought he couldn't resist the resemblance, but suddenly panicked, apologized, and left, leaving Bona confused. Down an alley, Jihoon vomited continuously, convincing himself he was just too drunk. Returning home around 3 a.m., Jihoon thought his mother would be asleep, but noticed her room light was still on. Peeking through a narrow gap, he saw his mother in the bathtub. Embarrassed, he noticed a beer bottle next to her and quickly entered to wake her. She opened her eyes, appearing drunk, and asked when he had come back, relieved that she hadn't fainted. His mother mentioned she had fallen asleep in the bath, and jokingly remarked that he must have been worried. Jihoon warned her that drinking and bathing were a dangerous combination, to which she admitted she hadn't realized the risk. After a brief pause, he urged her to hurry up. His mother inquired about his trip, but Jihoon, sidestepping the question, expressed concern over her new habit of drinking. She hugged him, explaining she only drank out of loneliness when alone, and promised never to drink while bathing again. Jihoon returned to his room, contemplating her words and convincing himself that everything was fine and that she was just very lonely. Suddenly, he received a message and, startled, rushed to open the door. Bona was there, unexpectedly knowing his address, entered uninvited, and headed straight for his mother's room. Jihoon woke up from the nightmare, sweating, with his mother beside him, wiping his forehead. Embarrassed, he said he needed a shower and pondered his recent bizarre dreams, questioning if he was starting to see his mother as a woman. Suddenly, he realized his necklace was missing. As he searched for it, he received a call from Bona. Upon meeting, he immediately demanded the return of his necklace, and Bona nonchalantly told him to come upstairs, saying it was in her room. Bona opened the door and invited Jihoon inside. He hesitated at the threshold, insisting she simply return the necklace so he could leave immediately. Bona, picking up the necklace from the table, playfully suggested he come in to retrieve it. Jihoon, still standing at the door, urged her to stop joking and hand it over. Bona admired the necklace, remarking that although it seemed inexpensive and suited her, she wondered if Jihoon would give it to her. Annoyed, Jihoon stepped inside, grabbed Bona's wrist, and firmly told her to stop playing games, as the necklace was very important to him. Bona, amused by his reaction, teased that his behavior made her want to keep it even more. Their tug-of-war escalated until Bona suddenly fell to the floor, feigning unresponsiveness. Jihoon, alarmed, shook her, only to find she was joking. Bona kissed him, and an angry Jihoon pushed her away. She laughed, confessing that from their first meeting, she enjoyed teasing him because it was fun. After catching his breath and closing his eyes, Jihoon was haunted by a flashback of his father. Startled, he opened his eyes to find Bona whispering that she had worn the necklace while he was asleep out of curiosity. Hoping he wouldn't mind, she mentioned living in the hotel and suggested that if the necklace's owner troubled him, he should visit her. Thinking it absurd that she didn't even know who the owner was, Jihoon still kissed her. While internally mocking the situation, he kissed Bona, unsure if he was trying to erase his guilt or indulge it. After they finished, Jihoon dressed to leave, warning Bona not to speak of what had happened. She smiled slyly, turning away and assuring him she wasn't the type to gossip, then suggested he leave as she was tired. Sometime later, Jihoon saw a car parked outside his house. A woman with shiny blonde hair emerged. It was his sister Jian. Surprised to see him, she greeted him warmly. Jihoon, startled, asked her if something was wrong, like a broken leg or another issue. Jian didn't recognize Jihoon at first and asked for a hug. Instead, Jihoon playfully lifted her up, which made her embarrassedly demand to be put down. He laughed, claiming he was only following her wish to hug, though clearly, she hadn't meant it this way, causing her some annoyance. Jihoon tried to calm her, arguing it was faster to carry her inside than to let her walk. As they entered, their mother came out, initially about to say something but quickly grew alarmed, asking what had happened to Jian and if her injury was serious. Jian reassured her that it was just a minor incident during her training and not a big deal. Jihoon put her down and said he would get crutches and a bag for her. Watching him leave, Jian asked their mother if Jihoon seemed different. Their mother commented that he had grown much taller. Jian added that not only had he grown taller, but his demeanor increasingly resembled their father's, which startled their mother as if she realized something profound. That night, Jihoon reflected that his sister hadn't changed at all when she suddenly opened his door, complimenting his physique and inviting him for a drink. He stopped her, concerned it would worsen her ankle swelling. Jian laughed, saying now he even scolds like an adult, then sat down, asking him to share about his life in the S. Jihoon explained that it was tough at first, but he had managed to adjust and time had flown by quickly. Jian teasingly asked if he had dated any blonde girls there, to which he replied nothing had happened. She laughed and called him still just a kid, then inquired if he had been working out, noting that his body looked even better than the guy's back where she was. As they chatted, Jian suddenly brought up their mother's loneliness, mentioning she was too afraid to call him, worrying his relatives might dislike her. So she always awaited his calls and prepared meals even though he wasn't there. Touched by this, Jian advised him to take more care of their mother and spend more time with her. Suddenly, Jihoon received a call from Jang Seok, who urged him to meet in Gangnam, claiming it was urgent and related to Bona. Despite the late hour, Jang Seok's insistence indicated something significant needed to be discussed. Despite the late hour, Jihoon decided to go out, first taking the bottle of alcohol away from Jian, cautioning that it would only slow her recovery. He briefly said goodbye to his mother, who questioned where he was going at this time. After hearing his explanation, she advised him to be careful. Suddenly, Jihoon mentioned that he planned to visit his father's grave the next day and asked if she would like to come along. She smiled and agreed eagerly. Upon arriving at the designated meeting spot, a lively bar, Jang Seok abruptly grabbed Jihoon's collar and demanded to know if he had slept with his girlfriend. Jihoon, startled and about to explain, was relieved when Jang Seok burst out laughing, revealing it was just a joke and that everyone inside was waiting for him. Inside, Jihoon was greeted by a group of friends who remarked on how different he looked, to which Jihoon thought he hadn't changed much except for growing taller. Seyoon playfully asked if he was dating anyone, and Jihoon replied that he didn't have anything to offer that would waste a girl's time. Seyoon suggested he must be quite popular, leading to another friend joking about Seyoon's previous criticisms of Jihoon, which she bashfully denied ever saying. Jang Seok then mentioned that nothing had changed among them, prompting Jihoon to ask about his situation with Bona. Jang Seok laughed, saying Jihoon was still concerned about that. He shared that he and Bona were comfortable with their unconventional relationship, and Bona had even told him about her interaction with Jihoon. As the night progressed, they all drank heavily, nearly passing out. In the restroom, Jang Seok inquired about Jihoon's mother, reminiscing about seeing her at Jihoon's graduation, likening her appearance to that of an angel. Jang Seok then lamented about his own mother and advised Jihoon to take good care of his stepmother, emphasizing that Jihoon was now the man of the house. After leaving the restroom, Seyoon, slightly inebriated, pulled Jihoon onto the dance floor. Despite his reluctance, Seyoon flirtatiously suggested they could do something fun together if dancing wasn't appealing. Jihoon politely refused and decided to head home. When Jihoon arrived home, his mother helped him inside as he was too intoxicated to walk straight. He asked about Yeon's whereabouts, to which his mother whispered for him to keep quiet because it was very late. After getting Jihoon into bed, his mother looked at him, thinking he must have had a lot of fun. Jihoon, feeling nostalgic and comforted, grabbed her arm and asked if they could sleep together like when he was little. His mother agreed and lay down beside him, soothingly telling him he would always be her darling. The next morning, Jihoon woke up, realizing he had overslept. He thought to himself that Jang Seok was right, his mother did seem more beautiful as he got older. As he was adjusting his mother's clothes, Jihoon walked in and caught him in the act, which embarrassed Jihoon, and he pretended to still be asleep. Jihoon was confused about why he was there, and their mother, stirring from the noise, sleepily inquired what was happening. She explained that Jihoon had drunk quite a bit the night before, and because she couldn't carry him upstairs, she let him sleep there. Jian, slightly annoyed, began to wake him, but their mother asked to let him sleep a little longer and questioned why Jian wasn't resting more. Noting it was still early, Jian asked if there was any pain medication in the house. Later, when Jihoon and his mother visited his father's resting place, where his biological mother's ashes were also kept, he whispered to himself that he had matured, apologized for not visiting sooner, and expressed that his father needn't worry about him anymore. When he asked his mother to greet his father, She shyly admitted she had already done so in her heart, her eyes lingering sadly on the photos of both parents side by side. Outside, Jihoon reassured his mother that she needn't feel guilty. She hadn't stolen his father from his biological mother. Surprised by his thoughts, she asked why he would say that. Jihoon took her hand, suggesting they visit a restaurant his parents used to frequent, hoping to share a piece of his past with her. At the restaurant, they enjoyed their meal, followed by a leisurely day of walking and playing together. In the evening, they went to a bar where Jihoon shared many interesting stories with his mother. Suddenly, she thanked him for bringing her to a place where she had once met his father, acknowledging it had been a long time since she had visited such places, one she would never go to alone. In a spontaneous moment, Jihoon asked if his mother wanted to try something fun he learned from a friend. He ordered 2 shots of tequila, placed some salt on his hand, and explained that they would lick the salt, drink the shot, and then bite a lime wedge. His mother was eager to try. Before Jihoon knew it, she licked the salt off his hand, downed the shot, ate the lime, and shyly asked if she did it right. After a cheerful and somewhat rowdy evening, Jihoon and his mother staggered home, her noticeably tipsy and suddenly retching, which worried Jihoon. He mentioned she might have drunk too much, to which she responded with a playful kiss on his lips, claiming he was fooled and showing a childlike side. Just then, Jian appeared, asking why they were back so late and why they hadn't answered her calls, noting their mother reeked of alcohol. Their mother joyfully embraced Jian, excitedly sharing their adventures and how much fun the drinking was. Jian, realizing her mother was indeed drunk, asked Jihoon to help get her inside. That night, as he lay in bed, Jihoon blushed at the memory of the evening's events. Restless and unable to sleep, he decided impulsively to seek out Bona. Surprised and unsure whether to be happy or not, Bona didn't press Jihoon for explanations. She seemed amused by the opportunity to continue teasing him, casually mentioning she was easygoing, at least with him. The next morning, as they faced the bright, glaring sun, Bona remarked how unusual it was for her to be up at that hour, as she disliked it. Jihoon curiously asked why she always stayed at the hotel. Bona revealed she was effectively confined there, against her will, by her father who owned the hotel. She explained she had run into trouble in France, so upon her return to Korea, her father restricted her movements. Although she suggested it was somewhat voluntary, Jihoon was surprised to learn Bona had lived in Paris for 3 years. As he started to inquire about the troubles she encountered, she abruptly stopped him, suggesting he leave as she was going to sleep. Jihoon thanked her for the day, and as he left, Bona smiled to herself on the bed. When Jihoon returned home, his mother inquired where he had been. He nonchalantly replied that he had just been out for a workout. His mother was surprised he wasn't more tired from his night out and mentioned she had a headache, likely from drinking too much. During breakfast, Jian prompted everyone to sit down as the meal was ready. She asked their mother if she remembered how drunk she had been the night before, to which their mother evasively changed the subject. Suddenly, Jian asked Jihoon if he was free, and he replied he might be, curious about what she needed. Jian explained she was looking for a secretary for the day because she had a meeting with a friend who had just been discharged from the hospital. Jihoon joked that with her injured legs, she should be staying at home instead. Despite his comment, they went out together and ran into Mina, Jian's friend, who was shocked to see Jian's condition. Mina asked if she was really okay, having heard that it wasn't serious but still feeling concerned. Jian reassured her it was just a minor hindrance. When Mina noticed Jihoon, she asked who he was, and upon his introduction, she was startled to recognize him, commenting on how much he had changed. Back at home, their mother was anxious, her thoughts wandering back to times that felt eerily similar to the present, almost as if Seunho was right beside her. At that moment, a middle-aged man stopped by, mentioning he had missed her, which lightened her mood as she greeted him warmly. Meanwhile, Mina reminded Jiang to take good care of herself, recalling a past incident where Jiang nearly got seriously injured during training. Jiang laughed it off, saying Mina was starting to sound like a mother, always nagging right from the start. Mina remarked how much Jihoon had changed, noting that she didn't recognize him because he looked much more mature. She reminisced about old times when they would dress up Jihoon like a girl, with Jiyoung adding that he used to be very pretty as a child. Jihoon sighed and joked that Mina was the only one who hadn't grown taller. Deciding to capture the moment, Jiyoung took a photo to commemorate their reunion. After a joyful conversation, they said their goodbyes, with Mina expressing hope that Jiyoung would recover quickly. As Mina marveled at Jihoon's height of 1.85 meters, she exclaimed that it was the perfect height for a partner, causing Jihoon to wonder if it was too tall. Mina laughed, saying she liked looking up to people. As Jiyoung listened to their playful banter, she realized something. On their way home, Jiyoung mentioned she felt that Mina might like Jihoon as a man, and asked him if he used to like her too. Jihoon brushed off Jiyoung's inquiry about Mina by stating that it was all in the past. Jiyoung observed him intently, suddenly realizing how much more masculine and handsome he had become. When they arrived home, Jiyoung was delighted to find their uncle there, while Jihoon was more reserved, noticing the man's hand on their mother's shoulder. When Jihoon seemed unfamiliar with him, his mother explained that he was an old colleague of Jihoon's father. The man commented that Jihoon was very young the last time they met and wouldn't remember him, but he shared many memories with Jihoon's father and noted how much Jihoon resembled him now. After a brief conversation and a handshake, the man left. Back inside, their mother inquired whether they had eaten yet, noting Jihoon must be tired from taking care of Jiyoung all day. Jihoon didn't say much, only mentioning that he was going to take a shower before heading straight inside. Later that evening, Jiyoung screamed upon realizing she had mistakenly taken Mina's phone. Mina told her she couldn't retrieve it right away, and Jiyoung, seeing Jihoon come downstairs, asked him to swap the phones at Mina's place. While waiting for Mina, Jihoon's thoughts drifted to the man visiting their mother. Acknowledging her loneliness, Mina's voice snapped him out of his reverie, inviting him in for a drink. As they settled down, Mina commented on Jiyoung's lack of patience and asked why she was always in such a hurry. Mina then asked Jihoon if he was all right, noting he looked different from the morning. Jihoon sipped his beer and admitted feeling a bit tired. He then asked Mina if she thought women could be attracted to someone just because they felt lonely, to which she agreed, confessing she had felt that way recently. As Mina continued to speak, Jihoon impulsively kissed her and asked if she wanted to be with him. Mina told him not to joke around like that. Jihoon replied that he was not joking and that he had changed. He was now only a year younger than her, and he kissed her. Mina suddenly came to her senses and pushed him away, stating that if they went any further, she wouldn't be able to face her best friend. When Jihoon returned home, Jiyoung complained that he was too indecisive, telling him that Mina said he had left a while ago. As Jihoon poured himself a glass of water to calm down, Jiyoung asked if something had happened between them, wondering if Mina had mentioned being clumsy again. Suddenly, Jihoon asked if the man from the morning often visited. Jiyoung explained that Mr. Young-ho occasionally came to discuss business with her mother concerning her father's company, though she wasn't clear on the details but knew he was managing the shares left by her father. She mentioned that Mr. Young-ho had been taking care of them in his absence and questioned why he was suddenly inquiring about him. Jihoon simply said he was curious. That night, Jihoon had a nightmare about the day he saw his father with his stepmother, while his biological mother lay on her side, her eyes vacant and staring at him. He woke up drenched in sweat. The next morning, Jihoon found his mother watering the garden and asked why she was up so early. She replied that the weather was nice, and she just felt like watering the plants. Jihoon remarked that he should be the one doing it, and asked where his sister was, to which she responded that she had gone out. Feeling embarrassed to ask if she felt lonely, Jihoon awkwardly shifted the topic. Later, in an attempt to help water the plants, he accidentally splashed water everywhere. By then, Jiyoung had returned and asked Jihoon to come inside and help her with her English. Confused, Jihoon asked why English was involved, questioning if it related to Jiyoung's major. Suddenly, a magazine was thrown at him. Jian, visibly upset, demanded to know what exactly he had done to Mina. Jiyoung had visited Mina that morning because she hadn't come to school, thinking she might have drunk too much, possibly unable to refuse alcohol from her professor. When Jiyoung cheerfully opened the door, she saw Mina looking as if she had been crying. Embarrassed, Mina just said she felt tired. Jian pressed further, asking if it was that despicable professor again. After a moment, Mina revealed the truth about the previous night, shocking Jian. Back in the present, she was extremely angry. Jihoon questioned why she was interrogating him when she already knew everything. Jian asked why he would do such a thing, questioning if he had forgotten that Mina was his friend, and why he would treat her that way. Exhausted, Jihoon retorted, asking if he wasn't allowed to have those feelings, arguing that they were no longer children, and that it was a normal physiological need that could occur between two individuals. Jihoon questioned Jian if she thought she was overreacting. Jian explained that Mina had been through a difficult time due to harassment, and wasn't someone who could just let things go. Jihoon asked if the other person had accused him of harassment, and if so, they should just call the police because it was becoming too much. A loud slap echoed, startling their mother downstairs. Jian asked Jihoon if he was okay, unable to stay calm after hearing what he had said. Jihoon quietly expressed his surprise that his sister seemed to care more about a friend than her own brother, and was only listening to one side of the story. He then moved closer to Jian and suggested that maybe it was because he wasn't really her flesh and blood, dropped the magazine, and walked away. As he opened the door, his mother asked if he was arguing with his sister again. Jihoon didn't respond but mentioned that he would go out for a while. While Jian told their mother she needed some quiet time, Jihoon then headed to Jangseok's house and collapsed on the sofa, too tired to speak. When asked by Jangseok if something was wrong, Jihoon only asked if he had any alcohol. Jangseok sighed and told him to get up. Later, they went to a hotel, though Jihoon remarked that it wasn't necessary. Inside the room were two people, Bona and her friend. They drank and lost themselves in their drunkenness. While in America, Jihoon was happy talking with his mother and sister, who was delighted to hear that he could come back and promised to cook whatever he wanted. As Jihoon was about to head back to bed, his uncle entered, asking why he was still awake at that hour. Angrily, his uncle asked if he had been talking to that woman again. Jihoon told him not to refer to her that way, as she was his mother, and also his uncle's daughter-in-law. The old man stated that he had never acknowledged her as his daughter-in-law, and advised that Jihoon should settle everything once he returned this time. He suggested Jihoon live, study, and work there, eventually taking over the family business, emphasizing that he had said this many times, and was determined not to let anyone outside the family inherit their bloodline. He grabbed Jihoon's hand, declaring that Jihoon was his grandson, and he would definitely take care of him. Jihoon asked if he knew why he had spent 3 years in such a distant place, coldly stating it was because he didn't want to become a burden to his mother and sister, and he really didn't want to be there. Jihoon shook off his hand and said he knew where his true home was, then turned and walked away, leaving the old man fuming in his wheelchair. Jihoon was awakened by a phone call after a reckless night. On the other end, his mother anxiously asked if he was okay and why he hadn't been answering his phone. She was very worried because she couldn't get in touch with him. She asked where he was and said she would come to pick him up immediately. Jihoon assured her he was fine, that he could get home by himself, and told her not to worry too much. His mother sounded slightly panicked and fearful. Jihoon soothed her over the phone, saying he just didn't want to come home at the moment, that he needed some time to think on his own. His mother was confused about what he meant, and Jihoon hung up and sighed deeply. As a teenager, Jihoon had begun feeling awkward and had strange thoughts while being lovingly cared for by his mother. Since then, he had come to see his mother as a woman, secretly thinking about her even in his most private moments, even on the day before he left for America. Jihoon gradually felt guilty as his love for his mother deepened. At that point, Jihoon thought that by moving away from there, his feelings would fade and everything would be okay. When Jihoon returned home, his mother greeted him with a tear-stained face, asking what was wrong and embracing him tightly, urging him to share what had happened. Jihoon didn't respond directly but mentioned that he had made up his mind about some things and decided to return to the US. His mother was puzzled and asked why. Noting that there was still a lot of vacation time left, Jihoon remained silent. His mother wondered if he had received some contact from America, or if something had happened with his grandfather. Jihoon clarified that nothing had happened. his mother pressed for a reason. Ju-hoon admitted that he had originally returned to settle down and live with her and his sister, and that he really didn't like living with his grandfather. He had thought that this place was where he truly belonged. His mother couldn't grasp what he was implying, unable to understand his words. Ju-hoon brushed past her, saying he had thought she considered him a part of this family. His mother grabbed his arm, pleading with him to calm down and explain what had happened. Ju-hoon shrugged her off, contemptuously asking how she could let another man into the house, especially when his presence was still palpable there. His mother was confused about which man he meant, then horrified, realized he was referring to Mr. Young-ho. She panicked and told him he had misunderstood. Everything was not as Ju-hoon thought. She insisted Mr. Young-ho had only come to help them, believing Ju-hoon would not think she would engage in inappropriate behaviors. Desperate, his mother pleaded as Ju-hoon collapsed, exhausted in the room. That night when Ji-young returned, she was angry and tried to look for him, but was stopped by their mother. Ji-young noticed that her mother had been crying and asked if it was because of him. Her mother said they would talk later and inquired about what had happened earlier. Ji-young hesitated and couldn't bring herself to explain. Later that night, their mother looked at an old photo and drank alcohol, reflecting on the time Ju-hoon had agreed to call her mom, thinking she had a new family. She quietly asked Soon-ho what she had done wrong, not understanding why Ju-hoon had spoken those words, wondering if she hadn't been good enough or caring enough towards Ju-hoon. That night, when Ju-hoon went downstairs to get some water, he found his mother slumped over the table, having sobbed uncontrollably before mixing her tears with alcohol. Realizing he had been harsh with his words, which he shouldn't have been, he gently woke her. In her inebriated state, she mistook him for her husband, suddenly embracing him while expressing her profound fatigue without him. Ju-hoon pointed out that she was drunk and suggested she get some rest, but she asked him to hold her. The following morning, when she woke up without knowing the time, she was startled to find Ju-hoon lying next to her. Stepping out of the room in shock, she reflected on her actions from the night before. When Jian called to her, asking why she was standing there, she replied she was just pondering. Jian, noticing something was off, asked if Ju-hoon was around, to which their mother, feeling embarrassed, said he had fallen asleep in her room. Jian questioned why, and their mother explained that he had confided in her and accidentally fell asleep. Jian probed further about what they had talked about and why he behaved that way, but their mother said it wasn't the right time to discuss it, and changed the subject by asking where Jian was headed. While washing dishes later, the mother wondered what exactly had happened last night, feeling embarrassed and blushing at the memory gaps. Suddenly, Ju-hoon hugged her from behind, asking if she had slept well, to which she awkwardly responded that she did. Ju-hoon mentioned he couldn't remember the last time he had such a peaceful sleep and said she should prepare breakfast. He grabbed her shoulders, confessing that he had misunderstood her. He laughed, saying he thought she had moved on from his father and apologized for his doubts and inappropriate behavior. Emotionally, she told him she could never forget him. Ju-hoon spoke casually about the previous night amid her panic, recklessly suggesting that if she still remembered his father, she could consider him as a replacement. This frightened her into knocking over a bottle of wine. While picking up the shards, Ju-hoon cut his hand, and his mother, acting instinctively, sucked the blood off and applied first aid, advising him to tell her if the wound felt worse. Ju-hoon reassured his mother that he was all right and hugged her, saying that his feelings were genuine, and he was ready to be there for her whenever she missed his father. However, his mother pushed him away, stating that everything was a mistake caused by her taking too many sleeping pills, and she apologized for things that shouldn't have happened. Ju-hoon questioned whether this mistake could make them go back to how things were before. He reminded her that it was she who had asked to be held and had expressed liking it. Ju-hoon declared that it no longer mattered who was to blame, kissed her, and confessed he could not erase her image from his heart. His mother, horrified, pleaded for him to stop. Ju-hoon moved closer and insisted that even if she didn't remember clearly, she must have some recollection of those moments, and he asked how she felt about him and whether she despised him. His mother firmly said no, to which Ju-hoon smiled, saying that not hating him was good enough for him, and he kissed her again. Deep down, her mind urged her to push Ju-hoon away. but her body felt too drained to react. Just then, someone knocked on the door. His mother hurried out in a panic, leaving Ji-hoon sitting dazed on the chair. The neighbor, an elderly lady, had brought some kimchi for them. She mentioned hearing about Ji-hoon's return from the AS and said her own child was considering studying abroad. She asked why his mother was sweating so much and if she felt unwell. Embarrassed, his mother said she was just feeling a bit tired. After the neighbor left wishing her well, his mother breathed a sigh of relief and returned inside. Not finding Ji-hoon on the sofa anymore, she went to her room and saw Ji-hoon sitting on the bed, lost in thought. Sitting down beside him, she asked if he knew what had bothered her the most when he was in America. She wished she could have been a better mother, and if only his uncle had acknowledged her, they wouldn't have had to be apart for so long. She explained that the feeling of inadequacy was so tormenting that she couldn't live without sleeping pills. Despite telling herself to stay strong and persevere, she didn't know what to do, which led her to seek help from Mr. Young-ho. She had asked him to find a way for them to be together without being separated again, and as she recounted this, she started crying again, suddenly realizing his lack of empathy and the implications of his decision to return to America. Ji-hoon stood up and tearfully admitted that all the faults were his for not truly understanding his mother's feelings and for acting inappropriately earlier. Overwhelmed by his emotions, Ji-hoon exclaimed that he should be the one to perish. His mother embraced him, urging him not to blame himself so harshly. Ji-hoon confessed his struggle with dark thoughts overtaking him. His mother, sensing his deep turmoil, offered her help with a gentle touch. After they resolved their misunderstandings, Ji-hoon tightly hugged his mother, thanked her, and expressed his deep love for her. His mother responded with a joyful smile, reciprocating his love. When Ji-hoon returned home, she was surprised to see Ji-hoon in such a state, and approached him with a need to discuss something. Ji-hoon demanded to know why he had acted so impulsively. Ji-hoon apologized, explaining his misunderstanding about their mother and Mr. Young-ho, which had led to his fear of losing his place in the family. Ji-young, feeling awkward and slightly disgusted by Ji-hoon's melodramatic expression of fear, pushed him away. Their mother, freshly showered, overhearing the conversation, warned Ji-hoon that Ji-young would punch him if he continued acting this way. Ji-hoon acknowledged the warning, and as he headed back to his room, Ji-young declared that regardless of anything, they would always remain family. Time passed, and Ji-hoon's reckless lifestyle continued, occasionally nearing exposure by Ji-young. Once, she wondered why he was exercising at such an odd hour before leaving the scene. Ji-hoon promised his mother to restrain himself, especially when his sister was around, and they wished each other good night. A week later, Ji-young was out with a friend celebrating the removal of her bandages and planned to return home late, asking Ji-hoon to carry her to her room if needed. Their mother, just back herself, complained about Ji-young's outings so soon after leaving the hospital. But Ji-hoon reminded her that Ji-young would be home late. Amidst the tender moment filled with understanding and connection, Ji-hoon suggested they go outside for some fresh air, leading them up a mountain. His mother, unaware of this hidden spot, was astounded by the breathtaking view of the city from the cliff. Ji-hoon explained that during his father's busy periods and his mother's hospital stays, he often came to this place alone. When overwhelmed with sadness, he would hike up here, sometimes getting lost. But it was at this cliff where he found solace and a place to let out his emotions without fear of being seen. As they shared this peaceful moment, Ji-hoon disclosed that he visited this spot whenever he felt the need to escape the facade of being okay the day his father died. And the night before leaving for America were such times. As the sun began to set, they prepared to leave, but his mother accidentally fell. Ji-hoon, concerned and caring, decided to carry her down the mountain despite her initial protests, insisting it was quicker this way. During the descent, Ji-hoon reminisced about a previous conversation where his mother expressed fear that he would leave her. He was surprised to realize they shared the same fears and recognized that his mother too had been pretending to be all right. He reassured her that she no longer needed to hide her feelings or pretend for his sake, promising to be there for her so she wouldn't feel alone anymore. His mother then recalled a time of deep despair when she was pregnant with Judeon and had to leave her previous partner, facing the daunting task of birthing and raising her daughter alone. Regardless of how exhausting it was, when they returned home, Jihoon gently placed his exhausted mother on the bed. She feigned sleep, but upon sitting up, confessed to Jihoon that she was tired of pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. Feeling lonely and scared all along, moved by her vulnerability, Jihoon smiled softly, acknowledging her feelings. His mother then asked if she could hug him, seeking comfort in her son's presence. Well, that's the bonus video for you. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. Stay on the amazing Manhwa channel.